Ladies and gentlemen, Andy here. I went from depressed and suicidal to living a life of abundance and joy, and Cam did some shit too. This is the Kill You're in a Loser show. Let's fucking go.
Way to sell me short, Andy.
We
Way to sell me short.
we we're gonna have a little chat, little chinwag about the fact that achieving goals isn't necessarily hard, although it can be, but it's often fucking terrifying. So you wanted to hit this conversation about the fact that a lot of goals, like, it's not complex. It's just show up every day and get some shit done, take some baby steps, and you'll eventually get there. People feel fear at the start of like a lot of their goals. And I think, we had this conversation before we went live here with this thing. People think that they have to smash through their fear in order to reach the goal. Like, they think, I won't be able to talk to girls until I get rid of the fear of talking to them. I won't be able to make a lot of money until I get over the fear of that. It's like, motherfuckers, I've been afraid, terrified of like every single thing that I've done, but I've just taken the action anyway. Especially with something like approach anxiety, you don't have to defeat it. And I think people think, I'm going to get rid of all the fear and then my life will be better. I'm going to conquer this fear. It's like, why? You don't have to. You
Yeah.
can take action.
And the fear is completely natural. So like
Yeah.
if you're going in there and you're not feeling, it's kind of weird if you would go into something and not feel fear when you have no experience, no knowledge. Like even just the fear that you don't know what you're doing will be present, Like that's a general fear that everyone has experience with. Maybe they starting school, like starting at a new school, just like not knowing what to do, not being comfortable there. The fear you feel before you get to a place of comfort, everyone knows that fear. And that goes away. So why wouldn't a lot of the other fear go away? Like why wouldn't your exposure to things, your gaining of knowledge in certain areas? Approach anxiety is one of those really good examples, because the fear that we feel about that, I guess girls too, but mostly this is to guys. It's incredible. It's hard to explain how much fear for guys who have real bad approach anxiety. It's like you think everyone in the world is suddenly going to turn around and beat you to death for just because
you're going to die.
Yeah. It's a fear of like close to a fear of death to some degree. It's like paralyzing. But the more you do it, the more exposure you get, the better it gets. And you also gain this knowledge of like how to carry yourself, how a girl is likely to react, how most girls are very nice and actually quite flattered by you, as long as you approach them in a way that's not like super creepy. You didn't follow them for a mile around a shopping center and they'll be like, hello, you know what I mean? Like, as long as it's not like super creepy and it's more of like a, hey, this is random, I think you're cute, but what do you want to get a drink? Most girls will be flattered, and you don't realize that at first. You don't have the knowledge. You don't have, people can tell you, but until you experience it, it doesn't do anything to your fear and anxiety. So yeah, fear will just be there because you are ignorant of it and you haven't been exposed to the situation and the scenario. There's something to be said for both knowledge and lived experience. You need to have both of them.
It's why we tell people to go take action and like stop just listening. I would rather you never watch a single video on my channel ever again and never pay me for coaching and just leave the fucking community and take action, compared to sitting here and watching every single video that I've ever done. Every now and then I'll get someone that will email me or leave a comment saying, bro, I've watched all of your content. And on one hand, I love that, and that's deeply humbling, and I'm always super grateful. But on the other hand, I'm like, yeah, but how much action have you taken? Like, I want to hear more that you've taken action rather than that you've watched my content. Again, we'd rather you watch none of our content and go out and take action. I also want to talk about the other extreme, or the other end of the scale. You're talking about at the beginning, it's very normal if you feel fear. I want to also give a little bit of an olive branch to guys that are maybe further along, whether that's talking to women, whether that's building a business, whatever it might be, social skills, and still feeling fear. That's okay too. I want to make something clear. I haven't completely conquered or like overcome my approach anxiety. I haven't completely gotten rid of my fear of asking for money, of saying, hey, do you want to sign up for the coaching? That still fucking terrifies me to this day. I just don't care anymore. And so I don't think that you need to smash through. Like, my goal was never to completely eradicate approach anxiety at all. I was just like, I want to be able to do it. I just want to be able to do the action. Can I talk to the women? And for a lot of our coaching clients too, like, how many times have we had this conversation where someone's like, I want to eliminate my approach anxiety and then my life will be great. And I'll be like, bro, why don't you just start talking to girls? And they're almost procrastinating taking the action. Yeah. It sounds like a weird thing to say, but they're like, I got to beat my fear first and then I can go talk to girls. And it's like, no, motherfucker, like, you do the action and the fear slowly dissipates.
This is why we were suggesting that and God love Chris, obviously, and God love everything that he ever made for Good Looking Loser. But we did suggest that his approach anxiety program may be too much, as in like there's too much volume, too many weeks, and it's probably wasting some guy's time who could have started, because that program was designed to annihilate your anxiety. It was designed for guys whose goal is to get over their approach anxiety. Whereas for us, we want you to be approaching girls as fast as you can. And we don't particularly mind if you're shitting yourself when you approach the girls. You know what I mean? We want you to like enjoy the process, but those first like 50 odd approaches, if you're literally paralyzed with fear, but you're still saying the words, that is fine. If the first 50 clients you sign up for your business, you're like shaking as you're like on the Zoom call below the neck.
That was, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're actually pissing yourself. That's fine. As long as you get the money, they can't see that you're pissing yourself, you know? So, so like, yeah, there's going to be, what do you say? You're the one who's, I think maybe someone else said it, but it's like, feel the fear and do it anyway.
I didn't come up with that, obviously. I got
no, so that's definitely from somewhere else. Yeah, I know. But like, it was a really nice phrase and way of saying it. I've done that in a bit of content recently too. And it's just this idea that, you know, fear is normal if you're trying to go for anything that's, I'm not going to say anything that's worth having, but anything that like the ordinary person doesn't have, like,
non-mainstream shit.
Yeah, like a really good sex life, their own business. The reason a lot of people don't have it is because of that constant fear that you have to like do things anyway. You know, that fear that will get in a lot of people's way. And we just hope that our guys out there, and that's why you even have like that thing of run towards fear. It's like this idea that fear might be a signal that it's worth doing in some degree, not the only signal, but one of the signals that this is worth you doing it if it's just to conquer your fear of it.
Yeah, and again, I think a lot of people look at the fear and go, oh shit, something's wrong, I shouldn't do that. Or they'll use the fear as like the reason why they don't like have the life that they want. They'll say, okay, I feel fear when it comes to talking to women, therefore that's why I don't do it, because it's scary and I feel fear. And it's like, I understand the fear, trust me. I'm probably one of the most fearful people that you'll meet on the planet. Like, definitely one of the people with a hell of a lot of doubt and insecurity. But if you sit there and listen to that fear, and definitely if you use it as the reason why you don't go for your goals, fear is then controlling you. And I don't know about you, man, but I don't want to get to the end of my life and be like, I listen to the fear. I don't think anyone is proud of themselves when they're like 80 years old, you know, slowly moving towards death and going, oh, I'm so glad I played it safe. Like, no, most people fucking have regrets at that point. And so I think of it like it's a short term, as in running towards your fear and doing the thing that scares you. And by the way, you can just take little baby steps with that. Like, we're not saying you have to go out today and start hitting on 50 women if you're terrified. No, just go outside and start walking around and think about talking to some women. Like, start the process. Just start. But I don't think I'd be very happy with myself if I didn't work on getting over that fear, work on taking those little baby steps. I don't want to get to the end of my life and be like, man, I fucking played it safe. It's like, no. And even if I fail when I run towards a fear, and nothing's really a failure, it's a learning experience, but if I fail running towards that fear, at least I can fucking say I tried. How many times have we had this conversation, man? Like, all of the fear that you feel around, let's pick talking to women, the absolute terror that you might feel when you look at a woman and go, oh my God, she's cute. Oh my God, am I really going to do this? Am I really going to, oh fucking hell, am I actually going to say hello to her? Holy shit. Like, that fear that you feel, that horrible like feeling of like, fuck, I'm going to die. That is nothing compared to the regret if you stand there for 10 minutes and don't say anything and then she leaves and you go, oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't fucking do it. Regret is always worse than fear.
I will say the only times these days when I don't do something, it's typically due to a lack of energy, less so due to a lack, like, because I have that thing in my head now, whereas like, if it's fear, that's a dumb reason not to do something.
Yeah,
But
in
now
my head, it's like,
yeah.
you can make a choice to not do it because it's like, look, I don't have time. I've got a million
Time
other
and
things.
energy
Make sure
are
you're
huge
being
nowadays. Yeah,
make sure
time
you're
and energy
being
are the
honest
big
with
ones,
yourself,
but not fear.
Yeah, and I know that you're honest with yourself, but for anyone else listening, don't say like, oh no, I genuinely don't have time to talk to women. And it's like, motherfucker, I just watched you sit at home playing fucking Call of Duty for the last like 6 hours. Like, you definitely have time. You definitely have energy too. Like,
with girls, it's like if you're thinking about them all the time, it's taking over your life. You're thinking about your insecurity with women. You're thinking about how you can't talk to them.
I wish I had a girlfriend.
I would frankly suggest that you rededicate 80% of your time to fixing it. Because then you're gonna get to what, 40 or whatever, and you'll be like, oh shit, you know. So like, no, take action now. Fear is the wrong reason. there's obviously other stuff like, societal shame and like what are you doing with your life questions that people ask. But if it's just fear, yeah, we would want you to run headfirst towards that fear and headbutt it through the wall. It would be preferable anyway.
Let's finish up in a sec, but before we do, let's maybe list out a couple of things that fucking terrify us still that maybe people might not understand, even though we talk about it all the goddamn time. But I can't tell you the number of times someone has had a conversation with me and be like, wow, Andy, like, you must never feel fear. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I tell you all the time that I do. So a couple for me is I still have approach anxiety with talking to women in person. I just don't really care about it anymore. Like, I don't care about the anxiety. I still every now and then feel a little bit of nervousness if I'm inviting a girl back with me and Imogen to do some BDSM shit. I definitely feel like a lot of fear and awkwardness every time I say to someone, so is the coaching program something that you want to sign up for? Like when I do those $200 coaching calls, I feel a lot of fear when I say the words, so the coaching program is $11,000. That's just fucking, I have to take a deep breath every time I do that. Every now and then I'll feel a little bit of not fear, but like pressure on myself, I guess you would say, when we do a coaching call, where I'm like, not necessarily the group coaching calls, I'm pretty comfortable with those, but the one-on-one calls, especially if it's someone who's bringing me like a different scenario that maybe I haven't dealt with. Like I did a coaching call with a guy who was like in his 50s. I definitely felt a lot of fear before that. Like, what can I have to teach this guy? I'm 35 or 36. He's like 50. So those are some of the things that I still fear a lot of fear around. I'd love to know what you still feel fear like right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'd still have approach anxiety. Like that never really went away from me either. And as you said, like if you want to go and approach a girl, you will. Just because there's anxiety there doesn't mean you won't do it. I guess I didn't invite girl. I wasn't dating for a while, and then I came back after 6 months or so of like not dating because I was stuck in England in my parents' place for a bit. And then before I came out to Canada again. So when I first started going on dates, yeah, the crunch moments, like inviting them back and stuff like that all floods back, and you just have to like grind through it and do it anyway. A lot of my biggest fear, I would say, has more to do with my business stuff, though, specifically content and putting my face out there and putting my content out there. I'm doing one short a day and then one long form a week. So I am putting a lot of content out there, but sometimes scheduling, putting it up, I get fear before I put something up, especially if it's a more contentious piece of content or it's something I think might be considered a bit controversial.
I feel fear sometimes with content.
That's a big one. That's like huge. I think that we're inside your business a little bit. You're like the shield for me in a lot of ways. So like I don't feel a lot of fear because I'm not flying solo in the group. So it's like I don't feel a lot of fear connected to your business, but connected to my own stuff. Yeah, like putting my advertising out there, sending emails. There's definitely fear before I click the buttons that actually put things live. But then you click it and nothing bad happens. So.
And that's all overcoming fear is. It's really just taking those baby steps. It's exposure therapy. And exposure therapy is taking some baby steps, seeing that nothing bad happens, or if something bad does happen, seeing that you're okay with it, like that the world doesn't fall down. Like she says, no, I have a boyfriend. And you go, oh, fuck, I guess that wasn't that bad. Nothing bad happened. And then like you just slowly gain enough confidence to keep doing the things. So we don't expect any of you, and that's kind of the point of this podcast, to just be like, you know what, fuck fear. I'm brave. I'm a stoic warrior. No, this podcast is literally here to try and tell you that if you feel fear, that's okay. Like you're not a pussy. There's nothing wrong with you. Like we feel fear all the goddamn time. We still do all the fucking time. We've just trained ourselves, and it is practice. It is training. We've trained ourselves to just go, all right, I feel this fear. Like you said, that's probably a good sign that this is worth doing. Fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to just take some baby steps. Like, I don't think you and I are people that have a lot of courage. I think we're just people that take some action. I don't see myself as courageous at all.
We take action for sure. And I would say if anyone's watching this and they've been struggling to take action, maybe their fears are getting in the way and they would like some help and a push and some accountability as well, consider joining up for our coaching program, which there will be in the description, there'll be information. You've probably heard about it before already. We're also offering, Andy, you're offering $200 calls as well, I believe.
Oh my God, yeah, $200 30-minute calls. Jump on a call with me. They almost always go more than 30 minutes, but I'll get balls deep in your fucking issues. I will change your life in 30 minutes, guaranteed. Otherwise, I'll give a hand job to your mother.
She'll love it. She fucking love it. Peace out, guys. That ends it there.
Number fucking stay, bitches.